If you're planning to move to Los Angeles and you want to find the perfect home in the perfect neighborhood, this is the only video you're going to need. Picking the right neighborhood in LA is super critical, but it's hard because Los Angeles is huge and it can be really daunting to figure out. And you don't want to miss out on something that could have been the perfect fit for you if you'd only known. The good news is I'm going to break it down so that you know your options better than 99% of everyone else moving here. You'll see where the traffic and the commutes are the worst, which parts of town get the hottest and coolest weather, the major areas for shopping and dining and nightlife, and the best areas to connect with nature. There's a lot more green space in LA than most people think. And of course, home prices. I'm Tony Mariotti, realtor and founder of Ruby Home. Let's go. Let's start with looking at the major regions. Now, this video is focused on the core parts of the city of LA, but I've got another video in the hopper about LA's suburbs, and more on that in a minute. So we're gonna start at the top and then go around clockwise to all the different regions. So the north end of LA, and this is the city limits, is the San Fernando Valley. And this includes names you might have heard like Woodland Hills, which is really hot, and we'll talk about weather in a minute. Tarzana, Encino, Sherman Oaks, and Studio City. And then the north end of the valley, you've got Northridge and Granada Hills and Porter Ranch, where there's a lot of actually new construction out there, and I'm going to talk a little bit on where to find new construction homes too. So this is the valley. Now, as we drop down the I-5 towards downtown, where Crypto.com Arena is, formerly Staples Center. So this is where the Lakers and the Kings play. It's also a central transportation hub. This is where all the subways and bus routes converge. So traffic gets pretty busy there, and I'll show you a little bit about the congestion down there in a second. And then this is the east side of LA. Now, this is northeast LA, and the prices here are pretty modest compared to the rest of LA. And that's why it's been gentrifying for like 30 years, but there's a lot of homes that have been remodeled there. During the pandemic, there were bidding wars there. It's a price point where a lot of first-time home buyers are looking to buy, so it gets competitive. So this is the northeast, and then this is the east side, which includes Hollywood Hills East right here, Los Feliz, East Hollywood, Silver Lake, and Echo Park. I know it's getting kind of crowded. I'm a little zoomed out. And then you've got Midtown and Central LA. So this is Midtown Central LA. And it includes Hancock Park, where the Los Angeles Country Club is. This is a really nice neighborhood. This is kind of the first wealthy suburb of downtown LA back in the 20s. Obviously, LA is much, much larger now, but there was a time when this was considered a suburb. Mid-City, Century City, which is mostly condos, and we're going to talk about high-rise condos. This Century City is mostly high-rise condos. We'll be talking about the best places to find high-rises. And then you've got Hollywood Hills West. It's divided by the 101, Hollywood Hills East, Hollywood Hills West, and then Beverly Hills and Bel Air. Now, the west side, I believe, starts at the 405 this way, out towards the ocean. Now, some people argue that Bel Air and Beverly Hills are part of the west side. That's an MLS designation, the west side MLS. I think most people would agree, and this is obviously a matter of opinion, but I'm pretty firm that the 405 is the Maginot Line that separates the west side from every other part of LA. So, west side includes Brentwood, Pacific Palisades, Santa Monica, which is its own municipality. So Santa Monica, Beverly Hills, West Hollywood, they're their own cities. They're just nestled and surrounded by LA. Venice Beach, Marina Del Rey, which is not part of the city of LA. And then you've got LAX here, which is one of the boundaries for the city of Los Angeles. The city of LA has kind of an odd shape. So it goes out to San Fernando Valley, pops down the I-5, extends out here. Kind of an odd shape. They have this corridor here, which I'm a bit of a history buff, but I'm surprised I don't know the answer to this, but I'm gonna guess that the city wanted unfettered access to the Port of LA. Hey, if this is your first time here and you want to know everything about living, working, or buying a home in Los Angeles, make sure to hit that subscribe button and click the bell for notifications. We do weekly videos and you don't want to miss a thing. So that's the general layout. Now I'm going to dive in and we're going to talk about traffic, which is super important. You probably want to live close to work, but if you work remotely, you can live anywhere you want, obviously, and you might have other priorities, but let's talk about the traffic. All right, so let's talk about the major freeways and thoroughfares in Los Angeles. So it's 10 in the morning, so we're kind of out of the major commute point, but you can see traffic is still a little nutty out there. So I live in the Hollywood Hills East, and I used to drive every day out to Woodland Hills. The 101 is usually very busy. In fact, this intersection here, it's still congested, is the worst freeway intersection in the United States of America, and I had to cross that thing every day. Now, you will find strategies to get around these things. In my case, I used to get up at 5 in the morning, go for a quick run, get on the road by about 6:15, and I was time shifting. So I was getting to work. It took me like 45 minutes to an hour to get to work. But I was getting to work at like 7:30 and then leaving at 3:30 in the afternoon. I just was trying to beat the really heavy parts of the traffic. If you work from home, then you're set, but these freeways are nutty in the morning. And one thing you'll notice, it's still going on in downtown Los Angeles right now. It's still pretty jammed down here too, and I'll show you why. I-5 runs through Burbank and comes downtown and around town, and then down to Orange County. And then you've got the 405, which cuts north-south through Sepulveda Pass, and then the 101 comes down through the Cahuenga Pass. A lot of people break off on the 10 and head downtown, but you can tell, and then the 110, everything converges here. It's like a hub and spoke model. It's kind of like a European city where you'll look like a Paris on a map, and there's circles and everything just expands out from there. Well, that's the issue. Downtown LA is always busy, and when you have, here's Dodger Stadium, which is not a part of downtown, but close. Crypto.com Arena, LA Convention Center, Disney Concert Hall, where the LA Phil, that's where their residency is. And Fashion District, which is busy during the day. The Flower District is busy. All these places are busy during the day. You've got the Financial District down there. There's a lot going on in terms of activity. It's kind of like, you can think of downtown as like the Manhattan borough of New York, like it's where business happens all day. And then people leave downtown, and so you've got that reverse flow at night. 10 comes out to Santa Monica, converts into the 1, and then heads out to Malibu. 405, always pretty brutal. You can see right now coming southbound. And then the inverse of that, at the end of the day, northbound is going to be a jam. I also commuted from Brentwood over here for a couple years. I did a later day shift, meaning I used to get to work at 9 and leave at like 7 or 8. So I mentioned one strategy being time shifting. That's not always an option for a lot of people. So you can find other ways to manage this, including taking surface streets. A lot of times when I'm going somewhere, even though the freeways look like the fastest route in terms of distance or as a crow would fly, I actually get on surface streets, and that's actually going to be faster. Now, Google Maps really comes in handy. It'll give you an estimated time, and you can make some judgments based on what it's telling you. One of the hacks I use is I open up Google Maps and I input my destination, and then I look at the suggested bike routes, because Google will show less trafficked streets, and sometimes you can find a much less stressful route to your destination. So Google Maps, look at the bike paths, and they'll show you where there's a little bit less traffic. Now, there might be a few more stoplights, but more open roads. In fact, I live 16 miles from LAX, and if I'm heading there at 4 a.m. for an early flight, I can get there in 20 minutes, and I've done it even faster, but if you tell anyone, I'll deny it. During rush hour, on surface streets, it'll actually be faster to get to the airport than the freeways, and we're talking 90 minutes or more. So no traffic, 20 minutes, rush hour, 90 minutes or more, and you would never get on the freeway to go to LAX. So that's another thing about convenience relating to traffic and commuting is the airports. And I'll tell you which one is the best to use. But before that, real quick, we are the Ruby Home team, and we help clients move to and move across Los Angeles. Write this email and number down, reach out to us, and we'll schedule your own private one-on-one consultation with our team so that we can get to know you and help you find the perfect spot when you're moving to the Los Angeles Metro. So go ahead and copy this info, and we'll talk to you soon. Okay, so I'd mentioned airports, and if you're someone who jets to other cities for work frequently or you vacation a lot, there are a few really critical things to consider in terms of which airport is best for you. The Burbank Airport right here is small. There's never a traffic jam there. Getting in and out of the terminal is easy with very little traffic, but it mostly has direct flights up and down the West Coast, which worked for me in the past when my company was based in San Francisco, and it still works for me because my family lives on the West Coast. So it's only like $25, $30 more per flight out of Burbank than LAX for flights to Seattle, Portland, Sacramento, San Francisco, etc. But it is totally worth it. You can pull up and pick up friends that are coming in from out of town and drive off. Now, let's compare that with LAX, which is huge. There's nearly always a jam, and it takes forever to get in and out of the terminal. However, this is where you go to get direct flights to major US cities like New York, Chicago, Miami, or direct flights to major European hubs. And I bet you right now that if I zoom into LAX, you will see the traffic jam going on in the terminal. At night, particularly like Sunday nights, it will be backed up onto Sepulveda Boulevard in either direction. I've even come in on the 105 and been jammed up out here, taking me 35 to 45 minutes to get in and pick someone up or drop them off. Sunday nights when everyone is coming home, that's darn near guaranteed to make the local TV broadcast. When I tune in sometimes late Sunday nights, I'm just checking the weather, 10 p.m. broadcast. They'll always have a report on Sunday nights from LAX to show you what's happening from everyone returning home. So it's quite a scene. What's more, the time can really add up if you need 90 minutes to get to LAX midday. And then you tack on 15 minutes to 30 minutes to drive into the terminal, and then another hour for security. If I drop off my nephew who's flying back to Europe and he wants to get to the airport 2 hours before an international flight, you get the picture. It all stacks up. So international flights, direct flights to major cities, you're kind of stuck with LAX. But if you're taking a regional flight, Burbank is the best bet. No doubt, weather is one of the main reasons why people move to LA, and it certainly was the case for me in the early 2000s. And I want to point out that the weather's different in different parts of town, and this is definitely worth knowing. The weather out here is going to be hot. When you get out to the west end of the valley, near Woodland Hills, where I used to commute to, it can be 100 degrees there, but in Malibu, it can be 72. What's the difference? What's the Santa Monica mountain range? It's guiding all of the cool air from the ocean across the LA basin and out towards San Bernardino County. So downtown LA can be 72. It can be 72 in Malibu, but it might be 80 in Glendale, 85 at the top of the Hollywood Hills, 90 degrees in Universal City, Studio City, same, Tarzana, Sherman Oaks, etc. But out this west end, Woodland Hills is the hottest. I have a friend, someone I've known since high school from the Pacific Northwest. I helped him buy a home. It was March of 2020, right when the pandemic hit. We were going to our inspection with masks on, but we didn't start that way. He loves the heat. He wants to go outside at night at 10 p.m. in the summer and still have it be 85 or 90. He loves it. I'm hot-blooded. I don't like that at all. I want to live where I live, where I can go hiking in Griffith Park and it's going to be a little cooler than the valley. I did live for a year and a half in Venice. That wasn't my cup of tea. It reminded me of San Francisco a little bit too much. Like, marine layer comes in, it's foggy at night. Like, the fog can come a mile or two inland and just kind of nestle there. I like living away from the fog, although the marine layer does push fog in often all the way in to Burbank and Pasadena out here. So I'm just letting you know, if you like hot weather, you can go out towards Santa Clarita, the suburbs, San Fernando Valley. And if you want something a little bit cooler, like midday temperature 70 instead of 90, the LA basin is perfect. Zoom in a little bit more to Hollywood Hills East, to my neighborhood. and then I'm gonna lay the map over a little bit. And so I live in Beechwood Canyon, and it can be 75 degrees in Hollywood. You drive a mile up and it'll be 82 degrees, like a 7-degree difference. I get the same weather in Upper Beechwood Canyon that Universal City in the Valley gets. So when I check my weather report, I check Universal City weather, and it'll be more accurate than Hollywood weather. So a mile down the hill to Hollywood or a mile just over the top of the hill to Universal City can make that much of a difference in terms of weather. And it's the inverse of what you think. So as I go up the hill, it's hotter as I go up. And where I grew up in the Northwest, hey, you go skiing at high elevation because the higher you go, the colder it gets. Not in LA. You start at the bottom of the hill and it gets hotter as you go up until you get the valley weather, and you got the basin weather here divided by the Santa Monica Mountains. So I'm gonna leave the satellite view up for a second because I want to talk about air quality. So the ocean breezes come in and pretty clean air. And there's no obstruction in the LA basin, so it just keeps moving in and cooling down the basin. But the air gets more polluted as it goes, right? So by the time it gets downtown, it's a little bit more polluted when you look at an air quality index map. And then it keeps going out towards San Bernardino. And by the time you get out toward San Bernardino County, the smog's pretty bad. So just to let you know, cleanest air near the ocean, getting a little dirtier as you go out. San Fernando Valley generally does okay, just a little bit more particulate matter than the coast, but it's really this push east, and it's guided by the mountains, right? And there's a mountain range here, the Verdugo's here, Santa Monica, San Gabriel Mountains, San Gabriel Valley, LA Basin. It's all getting pushed. So you get out here and it's kind of dirty and gross. You know, as we go, I find myself talking a lot about the terrain because it's so instrumental in the weather and the traffic over the passes. It also has an important role to play in buying a home, and I'll explain how. So I think it was one of the first homes I was ever asked to show was actually near me in Beechwood Canyon. And I'm gonna zoom in and I'm gonna tilt. And what you'll see is the canyon walls are kind of steep, right? And this is where we have stilt homes, like this ridge has a number of stilt homes on it. But because of the steepness of the canyon walls, you can see the lots are kind of small. And these are multi-million dollar homes, but they might be 1,200, 2,000 square feet and not a lot of backyards. I showed the home, it was a gorgeous storybook home. I think it was about 2.5 million, and we went to make an offer that night and someone had already made an offer, so we lost that opportunity. But the good news is, as I got to know my client a little bit better and ask the right questions, and if you want to give us a shout, this is what I will do and my team will do for you. Once we get to hear what you want, we're going to get you pointed in the right direction with neighborhoods you've never even heard of. After talking, and I found out that a backyard was the priority, but she wanted to be in the Hollywood Hills and close to the 101. So we went over to Outpost Estates, which has a very similar vibe. It's verdant, a lot of trees, a lot of greenery, but this is Outpost Estates. And the reason why it was gonna work better is you can see this upper bowl, it's less steep and there are more backyards and trees. And this whole slope here, part of the Outpost Estates subdivision, it's not as steep, it's just kind of like gently sloping on either side, so you've got these beautiful view homes, but bigger backyards and more space. So when you give us a shout, let us know, like, what's your priority? Space? Some people don't care about space, they're happy with a deck in a high-rise condo with a great view overlooking the LA basin. Some people need a yard, they want to entertain, they want more space, they've got kids, they want to put up a swing set, something like that. We'll help you get that dialed in. Access to nature is a big predictor of how happy people are with where they live. There's a number of things like access to nature, commute times, sense of community, and things like that. But I want to point out the nature part. It certainly was a priority for me. Obviously, the two biggest types of nature in LA are mountains and beaches. So I think the beaches are pretty self-evident, right? Because we all know where the coast is. I will make a few comments on this though. In Santa Monica, there are no beachfront properties. There is a bluff here on Ocean Avenue with condo buildings that overlook the bluffs and then the ocean, but there are no true beachfront homes. And then I'll zoom in on Venice a bit. You don't get the beachfront homes like right on the breaks like you would in some places in Malibu. You're set back, I'd say maybe 200 yards. You can buy sand front property, but not actual beachfront property. And these are all public beaches, by the way, with plenty of things to do, volleyball and even swing sets and workout stations. And now Malibu, you do get beachfront homes, probably minimum 10 million, and they can go up to 70, 80 million. And then there's some bluff front homes that have set California records. We're talking 100 million plus. But out here you can see you actually have beachfront homes, which is not the case in LA proper. So there are plenty of public beaches in Malibu. There are really no private beaches legally. The mean high tide line below that to the water is available to anyone from the public, and property owners cannot block access to those by law. Okay, I've moved the map down a little bit. So here's Santa Monica, here's Venice and Marina del Rey. So I lived in Venice for a little over a year and a half after a company I worked for was bought out, and I moved from the Hollywood Hills to Venice just to avoid the commute. And my buddy and I would go out in the morning and we would ride on the Marvin Broad trail, bike path, that goes down all the way down to Redondo Beach. I actually think it goes to Hermosa Beach. And it also goes out to Pacific Palisades. And I think it's about 20 miles, but it's a great path in the morning. During midday and afternoon, there's way too many people walking on the path. You got to keep your head on a swivel. You can't just put the pedal to the metal and get into a rhythm on it. But in the morning, 7 a.m., you can definitely get up to speed and get a really great long, uninterrupted ride up and down the coast. It's a great spot. Actually, there are some bike paths that go up Ballona Creek Trail too. The next thing is mountains. So in the Verdugos, there's a few hiking trails and tons in the San Gabriel Mountains, which go out that way, maybe 40, 50 miles. But the central Santa Monica Mountains in Los Angeles is where most of the action is for hiking. So lots of trails in Pacific Palisades, a good number of trails coming off the top of Brentwood, a handful around Stone Canyon Reservoir and the Bel Air Beverly Hills border. Really the big draw is Griffith Park right here. So I'm gonna zoom in on that. I think 53 miles of trails, and there are horses and horse trails as well. 2 championship golf courses, 1 9-hole golf course. Got the Greek Theater here, which is an excellent outdoor amphitheater venue. Hollywood Bowl. I'm lucky, I live between them. I get to go hiking every day. I go to concerts all the time near me. I love living near the park. I'm an outdoorsy kind of guy. Okay, then when we zoom out a little farther, we've got Kenneth Hahn State Park, Lake Balboa Park, other really great green spaces, so people in the valley can really take advantage of this, and people in the LA Basin and Central LA can take advantage of Kenneth Hahn. If you're thinking of moving to Los Angeles, give me a call or shoot me a text. My team and I help people like you every single day, and we'd love to make your move smooth and easy. I'm a big fan of history and architecture, which are really intertwined in LA. Once you get the hang of the architecture here, you can drive through neighborhoods and read them like rings on a crosscut of a tree. Let me explain. So I'd mentioned that the LA River comes down through downtown Los Angeles, and downtown is where Los Angeles started because you need a freshwater source, right? You can't be out living at the beach drinking salt water, and it's 1850. There's no desalinization. So LA starts downtown, and by 1880, there's enough commerce and industry that wealthy people are building Victorian homes downtown. You know, LA is kind of built in concentric circles away from downtown over the years. So if you see a Victorian, Generally going to be close to downtown, generally built 1870 to 1900. Around the turn of the century, then you get craftsmen, or as they say in the UK, arts and crafts homes. So those came on the scene, I believe, around 1905. They really start to populate the base of the Santa Monica Mountains and Pasadena. Those are two hot spots for craftsman homes. In the early 1900s, San Fernando Valley was still farmland. The motion picture industry moved to LA around 1915, so pre-World War I. Prior to Hollywood moving from New York to here, most of LA Basin was agricultural too. Like, these are orange groves and produce fields in the basin. So the rise of Hollywood and the rise of money here led to Spanish and Mediterranean homes, which kind of makes sense, right? Like, we get the same weather as southern Spain, southern France, Portugal. You've got hot weather during the day, the cool air from the ocean comes in and cools it down, and Mediterranean architecture was designed for that. Big front door goes right through the living room, and you've got doors to the backyard. You open those up, you have airflow. Obviously, in a pre-air conditioning era, you're gonna have that. Now, the stock market crash in 1929 kind of put a halt to all the building and construction and the boom period that Hollywood brought to LA. And then World War II kicks in. Right after the Pearl Harbor attack in December 1941, from basically early 1942 to 1945, 70,000 people moved to this part of Santa Monica to build airplanes. And this is really where LA gets its roots in the military industrial complex. Assembly plants here, assembly plants in Burbank, Boeing specifically. LA was kicking off a warplane every 13 minutes, nonstop from 42 to 45. That's how much industrial output there was. I bring this up because as service members come home in 1945 and they decide, hey, LA's got pretty great weather, it's a good place to live. There's a lot of now industrial talent here, people who know trades like welding and so forth. Well, it was right then that the real expansion from downtown kind of hit full speed. Almost every home, with the exception of a couple farm homes that still exist in the valley, was built from 1945 onward. And really the peak building years are 45 to 1970. So this is when you get mid-century modern homes, like 3-bedroom homes, 1,200 to 1,800 square feet for the nuclear family. So that's how the expansion took place in the valley. You also get the same thing in central LA. Lot of middle-class homes in the valley in central LA. 45 to 1960s pretty strong, all the way up to about 1972 or so when I think there was a recession. So so in summary, you go from Victorian homes to craftsman homes to Spanish and Mediterranean homes, which there's a ton in the Hollywood Hills and in the Santa Monica range between Glendale and Topanga Canyon. Again, view homes. So from 1950 onward, you get a little bit bigger mid-century modern homes, bigger than the ranchers that are out in the valley and in the basin. You get these bigger mid-century modern homes by well-known architects. And then around 1980, you start getting into the contemporary home era where people are now building 5,000, 7,000 square foot homes. And that's continued on to today. Very large contemporary homes, mostly in the Santa Monica range. Again, views command higher prices. People that have 10, 15, 20 million to spend on a home want privacy or a view, and there's plenty of views. And there's a lot of privacy in these canyons throughout this section of the Santa Monica range, including out in Brentwood, like Mandeville Canyon. So I want to mention a little bit about new construction homes. If you're looking for a new home, they're kind of few and far between, and they're scattered throughout. We don't have a lot of large master plan communities like you would find in Dallas, Houston, Miami suburbs, and so on. It's pretty built out in LA, and it's an area of the country that grew so fast from 1945 until now. I mean, they were just throwing up homes in the valley and in the basin without master plan communities. However, if you go north of town out towards Santa Clarita, I like using the satellite view because it's easier to see where the bulldozers have graded the land, you get these large master plan communities out here, Stevenson Ranch area, and in Santa Clarita, you can see the traces of already built subdivisions, and there's some master plan communities out here too. So if you want a brand new spanking new home, reasonably priced because you're a little bit farther out from LA, you'll be looking in Santa Clarita Valley area. And then within town, you get small lot subdivisions, which came about, I think, in 2005 because of some city regulations, where they said you could buy a lot with a home on it and tear down that home as long as it was a large lot and build a bunch of homes that literally could be 2 inches apart from each other. At a distance, they look like condos, but they're actually single family homes. They are titled that way. And I'm gonna actually zoom in on a small lot subdivision right now to show you what that looks like. I'm not sure how many other major cities have these, but it was about 2005, I believe, when the city changed the ordinance in LA. Now, I'm actually in Altadena, which is not part of the city LA, but I think this might be an LA County rule. So this shot from 2019 shows this notice of a hearing, and this looks like kind of a home. There's a notice of a hearing saying, the developer's like, hey, we're gonna do something with this lot. I think with the ramp here, this might have been a senior home or something. But we can flip over in the satellite view of the same lot, taken more recently. They've gone in with the bulldozers and graded the lot, and now they're building like 20 homes. There'll be a home here, just inches apart. But again, they look like condos, but they're in fact single family residences and titled and deeded that way. And I've actually seen another more recent view of this. I think they built a group of homes here and then L-shaped over here, meaning they built a bunch of similarly sized homes on this part, and then they built a couple bigger ones on this part. This is helping ease some of the housing crisis, creating more single-family residential units for people to buy. So in summary, you get a few master plan communities, but not a lot in LA, mostly outside of LA, north and west out towards Thousand Oaks. And then within town or within the places that are already really developed, you get small lot subdivisions. So condos can be found all over the city, and there are many 4-story condo complexes, and then some key concentrations of high-rise buildings that I'll point out in just a second. So starting in the late 1950s, Los Angeles had a 13-story height limit on buildings, and then in '58, the first building that was built over 13 was 14 stories. They didn't exceed the limit by much, but that was in Wilshire Corridor, and I'll show you that in a second. So let me point out the neighborhoods where you can find high-rises. Downtown Los Angeles has the highest concentration of high-rise buildings, and it's a mix of condos and lofts. And then there's 2 luxury buildings, Ritz-Carlton and Metropolis, which are really nice and worth checking out. But it's definitely a very city vibe downtown. And then you go just up the 101 to Hollywood. And Hollywood is really interesting. A lot of older buildings converted into lofts, and there's also a luxury hotel branded condo, W Hollywood Residences, which is really nice too. So then just down the road is West Hollywood. Now West Hollywood is interesting. It's like 70% of West Hollywood is condominium inventory, and there are a ton of high-rises there, including a few more condo branded residences. So we just keep moving on down the line, and we go to Century City, which is 90% condo inventory with several high-rises. Very nice luxury buildings, and it's a little bit of an urban vibe, but not nearly as urban as downtown LA. It's not gritty at all. I don't think I've ever seen so much as a piece of trash on the street there. It's very businesslike. And then just north of Century City is the Wilshire Corridor, which runs along Wilshire Boulevard. And that's where Wilshire Terrace, the first high-rise building, was built in Los Angeles. And it's a mid-century modern building, and if you like mid-century modern architecture, it is the epitome of mid-century modern. It was designed by Victor Gruen and Associates. Very cool building. Okay, and then we finish up in Marina del Rey, which on the northeast side of the marina, there's a series, it's called Marina Point. There's a series of buildings, all luxury high-rise, very cool glass exterior, and you're overlooking the marina all the way out to the ocean. So if you like beach living, but you also want the creature comforts of high-rise luxury living. That's an excellent spot. Now there are a few condos mid-rise along Ocean Avenue in Santa Monica, but really there's only a couple high-rises down at the north end of Santa Monica, and there's a couple high-rise buildings in Pacific Palisades too. But really you're looking at Marina del Rey, Wilshire Corridor, Century City, West Hollywood, Hollywood, and downtown, and it kind of follows a path, right? Just east to west all the way out to the ocean. You might be asking yourself, how am I going to get things done? Like, I need to run some errands. And so obviously there's commerce everywhere. There's grocery stores, retailers, dry cleaners, shipping supply stores, office supply stores, everywhere in Los Angeles. But let's take a look at the high concentration retail areas, the major shopping centers, and the neighborhoods that surround them. So we're going to start in downtown Los Angeles, and it has everything you might need, from kitchen tools to fabrics in the fashion district or flowers in the flower district. There's just an abundance of shopping. But parts of downtown can be a little bit gritty, and some people want more of the suburban shopping experience. So Glendale, which it's its own city, not part of LA, but I want to point it out because it's so close to LA, it borders it. There's the Galleria and Americana at Brand, and they have an Apple store that I visit from time to time. As a matter of fact, a lot of the places I'm going to point out have Apple stores. I mean, they're kind of the preeminent shopping areas. So then we'll go to West Hollywood. There's Santa Monica Boulevard, and then there's Sunset Boulevard. Sunset's on the north side, and Santa Monica kind of runs through the middle. There's a lot of boutiques on Santa Monica Boulevard, and on Sunset, it's Sunset Strip, so it's some fashion stores and then boutiques at Sunset Plaza, which really Tony boutiques, and they're fantastic. But Sunset's mostly like entertainment, like Comedy Store, restaurants. It's kind of the going out spot. Santa Monica Boulevard is definitely for going out, and I'll cover kind of the nightlife areas in just a second. But there's a lot of shopping and opportunities here, so that's worth pointing out. So in Mid-City, you've got the Grove and the Beverly Center and the Pico Robertson area just south of the Grove on West Pico. And then of course you've got Beverly Hills with the famous Rodeo Drive. Now Rodeo Drive is not the place you're going to go for everyday errands buying some t-shirts. It's high-end luxury goods. Very fun to visit there too. Just south of Rodeo on South Beverly Drive is where, if you're living in Beverly Hills, you do more of your day-to-day errands like dry cleaners and stuff like that. So then in Century City, you've got the Westfield Century City Mall. It's luxury and mid-luxury brands and more of a mall experience for this part of town. Like Rodeo Drive is all outside, walking down the street. Westfield Century City is more, you're in the interior of a mall. Now, it's kind of an outdoor mall. There's not a roof over your head, but it's self-contained. There's no cars driving through it. There's no traffic. So then in the San Fernando Valley, you've got the Sherman Oaks Galleria as a theater as well. And then in Woodland Hills, you've got Warner Center, which is huge. And there's actually some good condo complexes out there too. But it has everything. Shopping, theaters, plenty of restaurants, a few condo complexes. It's definitely the most happening spot in the west part of San Fernando Valley. So on the west side, you've got downtown Culver City, which is a nice strip of retail areas and shopping. And then 3rd Street Promenade in Santa Monica. It's all national chain stores. Probably not a lot of places to run errands there. Most people are doing that kind of a few streets behind the 3rd Street Promenade. And then you've got Palisades Village, which is it's the same developer, Rick Caruso, that did Americana at Brand in Glendale. And it's high-end boutiques, excellent shopping, and there's a real sense of community there because Pacific Palisades is kind of on the outer regions of LA, right before you get into rural Malibu. And so it's a really nice spot to get some shopping done. There's a lot of regular stores there too, just grocery shopping and shipping stores, etc. That'll save you a trip all the way into LA. And then in Malibu, you've got Cross Creek, Malibu, with plenty of stores, including Whole Foods and lots of little boutiques, coffee, restaurants, dry cleaners, and a car wash. In my Malibu video, I mentioned the car wash. For some reason, I like to know where the car washes are. By the way, leave a comment below where you're moving from. Are you moving from out of town, or are you moving across town? I can't wait to see where y'all are from. So there are tons of places in LA where there's an aggregation of restaurants and bars, but I want to look at a few pockets in town that I think foster social connections and a sense of community. These are the places with a high density of activities and where I see people connecting the most. All right, so we'll start in Silver Lake, which was very indie 30 years ago, but it's long since been gentrified, though it's still very hipster, and you can feel the hipster roots. And then just next door is Echo Park, which still holds a gritty vibe, alt music scene, and I mean, it's key to the indie music scene in LA, full stop. It's also right next to Dodger Stadium. Then there's West Hollywood, which is driven by nightlife both within the LGBTQ plus community and separate from that community as well. So Sunset Strip is a little bit more touristy, comedy clubs, nightlife, stuff like that. Santa Monica Boulevard is more like where locals hang out. On the west end of Santa Monica Boulevard is Boys Town. So in the San Fernando Valley, I think Studio City is my favorite place to hang out. A lot of businesses along Ventura Boulevard, and there are a good number of restaurants and watering holes. Good for hanging out with groups of people. And I go over there every couple of weeks for sushi. It's got one of my favorite sushi places. And then on the west side, you've got Venice, and to some degree, Santa Monica. 3rd Street Promenade is pretty happening. I'm not sure it really fosters a sense of community, but in Venice, definitely. So I lived in Venice for a year and a half, and I met all sorts of people. I mean, it's more of a hangout kind of situation at the beach. I mean, I never drove my car. I bought a beach cruiser, and I would go bar hopping along the Strand. It's definitely more of a hangout vibe, and I'm still friends with lots of people that I met there. A lot of mid-career professionals living there who prefer laid-back beach vibes. So I will comment a little bit outside of the city of Los Angeles just for a second, and I'll cover more in my suburbs video coming up. I'm gonna scroll out a little bit and move down to South Bay, which is El Segundo, Manhattan Beach, Hermosa Beach, Redondo. These also have a real sense of community when you go out. You see the same people every time you go out if you go to the same place. There's a real hangout situation. Similar to Venice and Santa Monica, mid-career professionals, but also lots of ex-jocks, folks working for Fox Sports or NFL Network at their new headquarters, ex-Wall Street traders combined with surf culture. So high net worth individuals hanging out with a surf vibe. It's a cool scene. Okay, and then let me move the map once more just to make a couple more quick comments about places I see with a strong sense of community. La Cañada, Flint Ridge has a social life built around the high quality schools and the active role that parents play in those communities, like scouting and youth sports clubs. Same thing in South Pasadena. Strong schools and a strong sense of community for people who have kids going to school. They just seem to connect. Be sure to subscribe because I've got that video about LA's suburbs that I've already started. You don't want to miss it. I'll go more in depth about these areas and their home prices. So your budget is obviously a critical component of your home search. So let's look at the home prices in different areas of town. So broadly speaking, the median home price in LA County is $1.15 million right now. And the median home price in the city of LA is $1.175, so it's essentially the same. LA city prices exclude areas that are not part of the city of LA. What I mean by that is that median price figure does not include Malibu, Santa Monica, West Hollywood, Marina del Rey, which is an unincorporated area, or the South Bay. And by the way, if you're not certain about your budget yet, or you need a pre-approval to get your budget dialed in, we can definitely give you a hand with that. We have several top-notch lending partners that'll jump right on it. Okay, so we'll start on the west side in downtown. So downtown, remember, is mostly condos and lofts. The median price is $700,000. And then Northeast Los Angeles, Atwater Village, Glassdale Park, Highland Park, etc. Prices are 1.2 million, so very near the median price. Now this can get competitive when the market's hot. There's a lot of first-time home buyers who pooled their money. They're ready to make that down payment. If it's a nice home, I mean, I've pulled up to open houses with clients where there was a line to get in. So it can be competitive. And then Hancock Park in Mid-City is 1.5 million, and there's a lot of condos in there that bring that median price at 1.5. But there's plenty of luxury homes, 3 million and above in that area too. So it's a little bit bifurcated into condos and luxury homes, not a lot in between. So then Hollywood Hills median price is 3 million, and you know, view homes command higher prices. The hills are really verdant. There's a lot of trees and greenery, a lot of privacy. So yeah, it commands a higher price. And then San Fernando Valley, the median price is 1.2 million, so a little bit more budget friendly. Burbank, not part of the city of LA, but the eastern end of the valley is 1.25 million. Van Nuys and Reseda, median price is 800,000. And then when you look at Studio City, Sherman Oaks, Encino, Tarzana, Woodland Hills, prices are going to change when you get up the slope of the Santa Monica range, right? So hillside homes in Sherman Oaks, Studio City, et cetera, are going to be much higher, just like, you know, this is about the crest right here of the range. Just like homes in Beverly Hills and Bel Air and Hollywood Hills on the southern facing slopes, just going to be pricier. So Tarzana, median price is 1.5, higher in the hills in places like Braemar Country Estates or Silverhawk Ridge. Encino, median price is 2.4 million, higher in the hills. Sherman Oaks, 1.8, same thing. And Studio City, 2.4 million, which is higher in the hills as well. So now let's take a look at the southern facing slope of the Santa Monica range. Here's the crest of the hill, which is Mulholland Drive. So West Hollywood, median price 1.3 million, ranges from small condos to large luxury condos. Wilshire Corridor, which is part of Westwood, is 1.5 million, and they have plenty of luxury buildings too, far in excess of the $1.5 million median. You've got Beverly Hills, has kind of an odd shape, and that's 6 million median price. And then let's hop over to West Side, Brentwood, all the way up Mandeville Canyon. Brentwood, median price 4.3 million. Okay, so now we'll cover some of the beach communities. They're gonna have price changes based on the proximity to the water, obviously. So, you know, the condo buildings on the bluffs above the ocean will be priced much more than, say, a quarter mile inside Santa Monica. Santa Monica is 2 million median price. Malibu is 5.5 million, and beachfront, say 10 million to in excess of 100 million. So Marina Del Rey and its condo inventory is 1.4 million median price. Since we're here, let's just do a couple quick notes on the suburbs. So Pasadena, 1.3 million. Arcadia is about 1.7 right now. And then if we go to the western side, we've got Calabasas, 2.4 million. Agora Hills is about 1.5 million. And then up, it's off the map, but Santa Clarita is about $770,000. Wow, we've covered a lot of ground. If you're considering a move to Los Angeles or want to explore the housing market, you can call, email, text, whatever's best for you. I love helping people find the perfect home. You're probably already getting a sense from this video of what you want, what you don't want. There's another reason to get in touch with us. When you tell us what you like or don't, and the areas you need to be for work, you need to be near work or whatever, if you might be working remotely and just want to be close to nature, just shoot us a text or an email. We'll schedule a one-on-one meeting or call, and we'll get you pointed in the right direction. I mentioned in the video that I'm working on everything you need to know about LA's suburbs too, so be sure to hit the subscribe button. And if you're watching this a week or so from now, then all you have to do is click right here to watch the video. All right, I'm Tony Mariotti, thanks for watching.